Hi, it's Evan from Cardboard Cat Homes, and today I'm here to show you how to make your own DIY cardboard cat scratcher. So you can already see that my little Chalupa here is having the time of his life, and I want you to be able to do the same for your cat. So let's just jump right into it and show you how it's done. So first I want to show you everything that we're going to need. So I have it all laid out here. I have a tape measure, rubber bands, some cut resistant gloves, an X-Acto knife, some Gorilla Glue or other super glue, and a pen. And of course we have the cardboard. A quick note about these materials is there's not a ton of information about what sorts of glue are safe for a cat. One thing is super clear is that wet super glue is super dangerous for cats. So while you're doing this project, make sure you don't have any cats in the room. And when you're storing your super glue, absolutely make sure that it's in a place that your cat can't reach. Gorilla Glue in particular, while it's still wet, it'll actually expand as it dries, and you don't want this to happen inside or on your cat, so be extra safe and extra careful. Everything that I've read online seems to point to it being safe once it dries, but while it's still wet, it can be really dangerous for your cat, so just be extra safe. So now that we have all of our materials laid out, the first thing that I want to do is, and I've made this mistake before, make sure you have your cardboard aligned. Every strip we're going to cut is going to be parallel to the way that this cardboard is held right now. That's what we want to see each of the strips have. If you see something like this, it means that you have aligned your cardboard right, your cutting and all this preparation you've done isn't going to work. Be super careful because once you do this, it can be really, really frustrating if you didn't cut your cardboard from the right direction, right? So we're going to cut against this side and we're going to cut with this side. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to lay out our cardboard and we're going to cut 1-inch sections all the way down. I find that about 1 inch works best. It has a good balance of not being too tall, but tall enough. You know, the wider you go, the more cardboard it's going to take to get through the same size of cat scratcher. But if you do, your strips too small, then it's not going to really be that far off the ground, and your cat isn't going to have as much fun on it. So when you're cutting this corrugated cardboard, I find that around 1 inch works best. And now that you've made your markings, what we're going to do is draw lines using some sort of straight edge. In this case, I just used another piece of cardboard, and we're going to draw lines all the way down for the cardboard. So now that we have all of these lines marked, now we're going to go ahead and make all of these cuts. It is a ton of cuts, so please do use knife safety. Don't stand directly behind where you're pulling the X-Acto knife. You don't want to slip and cut yourself. I also really recommend cut-proof gloves. It makes it a lot safer. You're not going to accidentally nick yourself. I don't like cutting myself. My cat does that plenty to me. Really check this first strip. This is what it should look like. We're going to be stacking a lot of these edges together, so make sure on your first strip it looks like this. If it doesn't, if it looks like that other edge I showed you earlier in the video, you are going to have to go back and redo all of the lines and all of the markings. So it's best that you waste the minimum amount of cutting possible. And as you're cutting, it's not going to be perfect, but you're making this for a cat. You're not making this for NASA. It's okay if all of your strips are not exactly the same width. We can totally work around that. It's gonna be okay. A really, just kind of minor, but I think nice tip here is that it's kind of hard to cut through corrugated cardboard, and it can be frustrating, if you cut through it and you keep pressing, but you notice it's still not kind of freeing the edge from the rest of the cardboard. What I like to do is flip it over, bend something that's already been cut most of the way, and now you can use the X-Acto knife. The bend will give you a nice even line where you can just lightly scrape along this edge to remove that last layer of cardboard. I find this works way better than just trying to press too hard. Just flip it around once you've made that first cut and you can just cut it from the back. Once we all have all of our strips, we can see that it's really coming together. Now, as I hold it, you can kind of see that every edge isn't exactly the same thickness. It's a little uneven. So what I'll actually do is put it on a table against a wall, and that's how I'll even everything out. And then I'll start organizing the pieces by height. If I notice some pieces are really tall, I generally put them on the right side. And if they're shorter, I usually put them on the left side. And this sort of ordering is going to make it look way, way more even. Now that we have everything stacked up, at this point, I actually like to put a little rubber band on the opposite side. So not here, but the opposite side. That helps keep everything together. And now we can start going in and adding dots of glue. You don't need a ton of glue. Just use like a small drop. You're going to be gluing a lot. You don't want to have to go through the whole bottle, and you're going to need to do this between every single layer. You can see that we're going to add a rubber band to that side, keep everything super tight, maybe even let it dry a few minutes first. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. Make sure your rubber bands are super tight. You can see I put it tight enough that it's actually bending the cardboard. This is going to help a lot to make sure that using the smallest amount of glue possible and making sure everything is bound correctly. For the opposite side, I like to start from the middle. I like to use 2 drops of glue, one in the middle and one on the side. And once you've added a glue layer between every single layer of cardboard, you can add a bunch of rubber bands and then you're pretty much done. Now I like to make sure it's completely dry, let it sit at least 10 minutes, and now you're all done. I like to put the cardboard scratcher on something that won't slide around too much, so I like to put it on carpet. Then I like to throw a little bit of catnip on it, but you're basically done. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you go ahead and you do this, make your cats happy. If you have any feedback, if you have a better way to do something, we're always trying to improve. Let me know. Leave a comment, and I'd be happy to reply. Thank you and have a great day.